New update. By new update, do you mean like one of the minor updates? Like 1.7 point whatever we're on now? Or do you mean like 1.8? What are we on now, actually? I lose track. There's so many point updates. I've taken to just coming here and checking on the change log. 1.7.19. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely give it a try. It may be a little laggy from over here, but I will try it. But I guess it's good to test things with lag, but probably not this much lag. Though I guess the game has too much lag in general right now, so whatever. Anyway, what's expecting the new update? So yeah, minor updates for like minor 1.7 updates. The main thing I'll be finishing up in 1.7 is I need to bring a few other versions of the game up to date. Like the Mac version is still stuck on 1.4, and like the Oculus version is still stuck on 1.4. So that's kind of my last goal, is to like get all the currently supported versions of the game running on 1.7, or the latest builds. So then everyone can start to use V2 accounts and everything, and we can start to kind of clear out some old stuff, basically. And then on to 1.8, which is a whole bunch of other stuff. There's if you're ever curious like what's coming up, you can always check on the wiki. There is a roadmap, so there's a little bit about like the main features in 1.8 coming up. So that'll still be a little while, but I'll be getting going on that here soon. Let's see, filling up a bit here.
Alright, I guess it's time for me to speak out. Hello, everybody.
Well, howdy. Cool to hear your voice.
Glad to hear.
So yeah, take it away.
Everyone else would be probably shocked a bit since I mostly talk on my YouTube channel, so.
So yeah, feel free to like share your screen or whatever works for presenting if you want to get started here, or we can wait a few more minutes if you want to wait for more people to show up. But this is
Actually, you know what? I think it would be best if I put my money where my mouth is and just host the server.
oh yeah,
You can join, you're included. You can
cool.
get to try out. So stuff is going to be just generally gonna be battle tested.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm not gonna play myself. I'm just gonna watch how the game is going and maybe kick some griefers or something.
Okay, sounds good to me.
The server is now live. It's called Coffee with Eric now live.
Ooh, all right.
Okay, so for anybody who's interested, we're gonna test out one mod, which is called Autorun, which is a gameplay mod which was basically designed to solve a problem on mobile. If you wanna run, you have to hold one of the buttons, probably a jump button or a punch button, and sometimes it can make stuff kind of unwieldy to control sometimes. And I wanted to include this mod, which basically allows you to run without holding any buttons. It's like automatic, and still with maintaining the full maneuverability, because as you know, in the original game, when you hold down the button, your turns become much wider, which is less controllable. Which is of course obviously a gameplay adjustment. But with Autorun, this is basically you get to run as fast as possible while still being somewhat maneuverable on small spaces. I have a variety of maps. Some of them are gonna be on small platforms, so this is going to be the perfect testing grounds for that. So I'm gonna lose the server and maybe wait for a couple of people because there's one player in. So
All right.
server is called Coffee with Eric.
Okay. Probably have to wait a minute for it to ping that. There's an issue I need to look into. Someone was having an issue where their servers were oh, there we go. Okay, so 205 ping, which will not be great, but
Yeah.
okay.
There's also gonna be one more
Okay. So this has auto run enabled?
Yes.
Okay.
So start typing from trailers.
Oh, geez. Oh, sorry. I'm adjusting my window here. Getting owned in the process. Oh, shoot. Okay. My bad.
Feedback on the mod itself, if it's really fast, you can really just because I think the mod has
One second. I'll turn the audio off. 1 second.
I'll decrease it myself too.
Yeah, I was gonna say your microphone's a little soft. I don't know. Is there an easy way I can turn that up? And
Don't worry, it's on my end.
oh, okay.
Give me a second.
Because yeah, unfortunately, I can't run the game lower than 0.1 volume.
Alright, so I guess I have to just be a bit closer when talking. Alrighty.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, so far this feels, I mean, just getting started, but it feels pretty natural. Oh, geez. As I run off the cliff. Oops.
Yes. Of course, because of the bumpers and how it interacts with running and stuff, it doesn't always work perfectly. But I still made it so that there's full analog, so you can still hold like halfway and still have like a jog and not a sprint.
Cool. Yeah, I'm playing on a keyboard right now, so I guess I can't test that part. But yeah, that's cool.
The keyboard has a really good run on it, but it's kind of unwieldy, I think.
But yeah, that's a good point. It could make it simpler for, yeah, like people on a phone or people with simple controllers or.
Yeah. So basically, I made the mode. I mean, it started as kind of a selfish goal to kind of have the game playable on mobile because I'm kind of a snob when it comes to controls. So anything that like I cannot do as much as on gamepad, it's like no way. I'm just gonna play Minesweeper or something.
Oh yeah.
I made the mode and now I can play co-op kind of comfortably. So like I think this test at least is fast.
Cool.
Hopefully it's gonna be feeling good for other people too.
Yeah, so
Or
far.
you need to jump to the flag if you can.
Oh, okay. Let me give that a try.
All right, let's go.
Oh, geez. Part of this is probably my 200 or whatever the bad lag was.
Probably, yeah.
Need that darn client prediction.
Yeah, this jump definitely requires like from the top, like exactly.
Yeah. Oh man.
That curve, like turn, it's gonna go well.
Oh geez. Whoops. I ran off again.
Oh, I kinda like with the mods. There's one more mod which basically tells you when the TNT responds. So it's one over my recent mods. Kind of self promotion, you know.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll have to. So what does it do when the TNT responds? I wasn't watching.
So when the TNT dies, for whatever reason, either goes out of bounds or gets destroyed, like a subtle percentage number is gonna appear, which is gonna update frequently. And when it reaches 100, the box spawns. So you can basically intuit when the TNT appears.
Oh, okay.
It's like do it with code and stuff, but it's precise enough so you can still, react to the TNT. It's very useful in co-op, but of course that's a mod, so that's cheating. So yeah.
It seems like it could still be fun in competitive games though too. Just like it would cause people to like scramble to get there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's cool.
So the playlist has I think 8 or 9 games, so it's made for like half an hour. Play, so I think that's gonna be that's gonna hurt.
Oops. I'm discovering that I'm like bad at like conversing while playing.
Yeah, I think it's difficult definitely. Like I'm not playing myself, I still want more people to participate and stuff. Whoops. I gotta unplug my phone. Oh by the way, yeah, there's the icon so everybody gets to see. I'm legit.
Oh nice. Yes.
Alrighty, I'm gonna put it back in. Alrighty. Hi Mikkel, hi. Okay, so by the way, if anybody wants to try the mod, but the server is full for some reason, if people already played for long enough, you can leave so that other people can try the mod too. I think that's gonna help people, gauge interest and start a conversation.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I'm back.
Or this map, Epic Potato and Epic, it's probably one of the most tense combinations too. Oh, and two people are marked, so yeah. Basically, don't get hit.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Oh, yeah.
Oh
Apparently
yeah,
I'm
don't
I'm
fall
lagging a
because
bit.
the stun is gets longer and longer. Yeah. Watch out. Maybe I can tag my friend so he can come and cheer me up or something. Oh. Oh
Oh jeez.
no. Hit him, hit him, hit him.
Oh no. Okay. Oh my. Oh. Yeah, that looks like fun.
Yeah. So when I created this mode, it was a great success. So I'm very fun. I could make something on the line.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think FFR lacks game modes in general, so I figured I could make something.
Yeah, it does kind of. I feel like I usually, if I'm showing people the game, I tend to do teams games because I feel like FFA is not as fun. So yeah, we
Yeah,
we definitely need more fun fun FFA games.
yeah. I mean, Capture the Flag is probably one of those game modes that it never gets old. Every single time I play it,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
just gave.
Of course, need new maps and all that stuff too. So and, yeah, I need to get this 1.8
Okay,
stuff.
but I guess that's 2.0 territory.
Well, some of it will be 1.8. I mean, the big feature in 1.8 is supposed to be downloadable assets. So that means we can add more maps and stuff without requiring everyone to update the game.
Yeah, definitely have something planned for that. So hopefully, I'm gonna be one of the first people that actually makes something big.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I will definitely be showing progress for that as it happens. I want to make give everyone access to the exact same tools I'm using to make downloadable stuff. So you can all be my beta testers. Haha.
All right. Yeah, Mika failed a lot of times. Hopefully he can get out of this. That was loud. That was loud. Yeah, Mika can still do it. He just has to run and punch him. Yeah, when you fall too many times, the punishment for falling gets bigger. You cannot move.
Oh,
You cannot
interesting.
manage like
Okay.
other players. So that was like my main way of solving the issue of people are falling to escape. How I'm gonna solve that?
Yeah.
And he's gone. Congratulations.
Yay. That brings up a question of like, should we?
Race? That's gonna be a good way.
Oh yeah, this would be a good test.
So I did some simple testing with this mod, and apparently the autorun is apparently either slightly slower or on the same speed as just using like manual runs with the trigger. So
Oh, okay. So yeah, going back to like maybe it would make sense to just have it be an option for people. Like if people are used to manual, they can turn that on. But by default, maybe new people could have auto run.
yeah, definitely. And of course, this mod isn't like perfect because it cannot run as fast as humanly possible if you're just babysitting a run trigger. So there's a lot of like algorithm in the background, constantly checking how sharp the turns are you making, how fast you're running, what is your like analog tilt and stuff. So
Oh yeah.
this is definitely gonna make stuff not ideal, but definitely good enough so you can still like enjoy casual co-op games and stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
So, and you can still do sharp turns. You don't have to hold the button. Of course, you can still do it. It's just gonna then default to the basic.
Oh, okay. So if you do hold the button, it will do like a manual run on.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that like make it automatic and manual for people who like play on gamepad or something.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if that should be like per profile or per controller.
Yeah, that's
because it's like such a big thing.
yeah, that's a good question. Like, would controls like that? Yeah, because I feel like in a party game situation, like controllers get passed around a lot, and so like you wouldn't want
Oh yeah.
too many like per controller settings because it would confuse people.
Oh yeah. I remember playing Mario Kart on Twitch with my colleagues, and I decided to turn off auto assist, like drive assist,
Oh yeah.
which is like this little antenna which keeps you on the center track. I remember passing that to the other person. He was surprised as to why he was losing so much, and I mentioned there's no auto assist.
Oh no. Yeah, that actually
So
something that happened to me recently. I was playing Mario Kart over Christmas break, and yeah, I had like auto gas or whatever. Like I was used to that being on, and it was off all of a sudden. I was like, "What the heck happened?" So I assume
oh
some.
no.
Oh geez. Oh no. There I go talking again and getting myself killed.
Yeah, at least it's one of those situations where yeah, you would definitely we could make it per profile, but it's actually I wonder if people are actually passing their controllers off. Like at least in my household, it doesn't happen. Like everybody has their own controller. We have lots of them.
Oh,
Definitely,
interesting.
that's not an issue. But I wonder how often that is. Like if there are even people that play in local like situations, because I know most people play on mobile, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
have a lot of data to back that up.
I would say in my experience, I'm usually playing with a random group of friends that's over or something that hasn't played before. So I think people are usually using random controllers in that case.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
so maybe per profile. I mean, usually one person's sticking to one profile. At least in my experience. Um, though I guess if you're a person that has like a lot of profiles, that might be annoying because then you'd have to switch your settings for all your profiles.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I learned is that once you set your like character and colors, it's probably gonna be stuck that way unless you are feeling like personalizing. So I guess the same thing is gonna apply to like control preferences. Like maybe you're gonna start with automatic, figure out it's not good, try manual because you're playing on gamepad like most of the day, and it
Yeah.
turns out this is exactly what you need. Or maybe you're gonna make two profiles to cut out on you have one profile on one on I mean, it's hard to say. I would probably prefer on controller because the running is so controller dependent. Like I said, I made auto run with mobile in mind, maybe on keyboard like as a second, and gamepad it's like quality of life. Gamepad doesn't need automatic run, but it definitely makes the game much more fun to play. You don't have to babysit the run trigger.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, I feel like we should definitely get this in with. I feel like this would be a good update for the scene version stuff I was talking about, where we can start to
Yeah,
actually.
the 1.9.
Or well, the scene version should be 1.18, so that should be hopefully soon. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing I should talk to you about, it would be great if we could maybe implement some of that on like the C++ layer. Um,
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I was basically doing a lot of like stuff, but basically I was constrained by the engine itself and how the run mechanics work.
mhm.
Because I know the run mechanics are like the engine layer, the internal layer, like most of it. So I
Yeah.
basically have to fudge it to make it work.
Yeah, it's like you're adding rules on top. Yeah, like you're adding like fuzzy rules on top of like other
Yeah,
fuzzy rules. So you're
yeah,
probably like fighting the engine at sometimes.
yeah. But when you have the scene layer, you can do stuff like, for example, maybe get rid of the white turns while running entirely and just make it like
Yeah,
auto
exactly.
run, but basically make it like full run when you're holding the all the way, and maybe just do the bumpers so that it like gets updated with the new running rules. Because I know the railings on maps, I know they don't work when you run fast enough because that's kind of like the point of the railings. When you walk normally, you shouldn't be able to just walk off
Yeah.
the ledge unless it's like intentional by the map designer. So hopefully with auto run we can make it so, for example, when you're doing a jog like halfway, maybe you're not gonna get pushed, or maybe you have to like do a sprint like entirely, like a large sprint before it actually starts. Getting off the guardrails off, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We can kind of incorporate a lot of that. As I mentioned, at some
Yeah,
point I'd like to move the guardrail logic, like if possible, like into the character. This is maybe farther out, but like use ray tracing or something to detect, like, oh, I'm near an edge, so I'm gonna apply a force.
yeah.
That way,
Because I think right now it's more of a like a physics quirk, which is like if I understand this correctly, I don't know if that's my educated guess. What they really do is basically there's this like trick what I used to do back in the day with inverted normals. You could have a character go through the back of the normal and they get launched because the logic tells them this head shouldn't be there, it should be on the other side, so it gets pushed and stuff.
yeah, it's like that. I mean,
Necessarily. They only stop people from moving from one side, but they don't force people out the other.
yeah. That's actually how all like mesh collisions work in this physics engine. Is they're basically like one-way spring forces. They're usually very strong spring forces. So something will get just bounce off. But in the case of the railings, they're just like very weak spring forces. So it just kind of, if you're going slow, it'll kind of push you back on the track. But and it only applies in one direction. So like yeah,
Oh, yeah.
if you jumped into the railing from the opposite side, it would actually kind of like launch you onto the track a little bit.
I actually thought that there was no like pushing logic with the bumper settings turned on.
I mean, it might be more of like a like this physics might be set to where it's more like a damping. Maybe it more like slows you down. But I think there is a little bit of pushing
Ah,
because it's
okay,
all
that makes sense.
like all the all the forces in the physics engine. Basically, they have like spring force adjustments, so you can adjust like stiffness and damping. That's kind of like the two big things usually with like spring type stuff. And so stiffness is like how much it pushes back, and damping is like how much it like slows down. So it probably has more damping than stiffness, but that's totally adjustable too. I mean, we could have the
Okay,
railings.
exactly. Yeah, man, I can't wait for all of this to be exposed so I can have lots of fun with it. Maybe make some games.
Yeah, so
Because right
that's
now it's like this, the game is in this weird transitionally state where the game is moddable, but the game could be so much better at modding. It's like
oh yeah.
if you're gonna make mods right now, you might as well just wait until everything is released so you can like make it proper.
Yeah, I feel bad telling people that. I feel bad being like, "Hey, wait, this is going to be so much cooler like when it's ready." But because I want people to mod it now, but it's tricky sometimes to know whether to tell them like how to do it in a hacky way right now or like, "Hey, wait a year and it'll be a lot better."
This is kind of the reason why I started doing the simple mods that are highly commentated, which is like this mix of hey, wanna teach get more people into modding, but at the same time I don't want people who just like rely entirely on tutorials and don't want to make their own thing and experiment.
Oh yeah.
And show them something cool so they get inspired. Maybe they go into the code and start learning. And I think that's gonna be the best way to do it because these mods are simple to make. Most of them I make in like 2 days. The hot potato mod I make in a week.
Yeah.
While the other week was used for the old version in 1.4 when I made it for GRP and I learned a lot of it. So the
Yeah.
design was changed and I learned a lot of it.
Cool. Yeah, it's a good way to I feel like I should take more time and do stuff like that where just like I'm going to just make some goofy thing for like a day.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that was my original like inspiration for making the game like moddable and like component based and stuff. It's like, oh, I just want to be able to like experiment with mini games and stuff. But here I am. I'm spending all my time like working on infrastructure, and I should take more time and actually do some of that type stuff.
Oh yeah.
I guess infrastructure is important, but it's like it's in the service of wanting to be able to make those little quick sketchy things.
The player doesn't see the infrastructure versus matchmaking and it screws them over.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't die, Eric.
Oh, sorry.
You're still
Yeah.
in the game.
I have to keep reminding myself like, oh, I'm in the game.
Yeah, okay. So first death was avoided. What?
Oh.
You can use bombs too if you wanna pass it around.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Oh, one more.
Oh, geez.
Watch out. Oh,
Oh, I thought I had him.
watch out. Oh.
Oh, gee. Oh, I'm screwed. I'm screwed. So any damage will pass it, or how does that work?
Yeah, any damage will pass it, yes.
Okay, cool.
I love playing that mode. Like, I remember making it and was thinking like, okay, maybe it's too confusing, maybe it's like lots of stuff is going on and it's hard to explain, but at the same time, I just didn't tell people the rules and they immediately got not only what the basic goal is, but at the same time the high strategy, which is like when you're a heavy player, you will fight heavy players to inflate their stun timers when it's down to the last round and the last survivors. One fall is gonna make you lose it, like here.
Yeah.
So it's like a secondary objective: kill as many healthy people as possible.
Okay,
That's
interesting.
all.
It makes me wonder, like, is there a way that we could have the game, I don't know, like show those rules or something, or like onboard people, like a loading screen sort of situation, where like it has a slightly longer explanation of like the specific rules or something, or would that just confuse people? I wonder. Is it better for people to just play a few times and like learn it?
Actually, I think the best game modes are those that are very light on rules, and I think Hot Potato is already as complex enough as it can be without going into battle royale for BombSquad and or Kirby Air Ride like mode in, which is basically like everybody is spawning and they grab power ups, which basically increase their stats further. And at the end, you play a mini game to basically decide who the winner is. So imagine explaining all that. Like in the original game, there's like a 2 minute long video which only teases events and has the basic goals. Now imagine if you want to explain that immediately, like with one single like look. So with Hot Potato, I had to adjust the interface so people got the memo easier, and at the same time also introduce the tips that appear above the survivors list. So when you're just waiting or maybe just starting out, maybe the tip is gonna be super useful for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Because BombSquad excels with simple games.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was kind of one of my goals. It's like just having like the little snippet up on the top left, like having a tiny statement to try to explain, like what passed the mark, or like hopefully keeping concepts very simple.
Yeah. Everybody has played tags, so this plan should be explainable, and maybe you can sort of guess what the bomb does in this mode.
Yeah.
And the stun mechanic doesn't have to be explained because once you experience it, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say the stun mechanic is still like I feel like I'm still new on that, or like I haven't.
Yeah, when I playtested it with people before I officially released. Oh, you did it! No, stay away from these. Stay away from.
Oh jeez! Oh jeez! Oh, jeez!
Too late.
Too late. Ah.
When I playtested this with people, it turns out that after the second, third game, they got it immediately, and now it's like their best game ever. So.
Okay. Cool.
I'm
Cool.
pretty proud of it.
Nice. Yeah, it does seem fun.
Like when this, I was really inspired to like a game mode which is like elimination, because the best part of elimination and the worst part of it is that once you're dead, you're out, and so this creates more pressure when there's like little of you. So this hot potato game mode kind of has the same energy, I feel.
Yeah.
This excitement, and of course the time it goes down, and then you have the occasional hits, which I think also help with the sound design. Like almost there, and then you hit them at the last second, and then you survive, which is I think.
Oh yeah.
Squid Game like.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. Just like, yeah, like creating those moments of just like where it comes down to a do or die moment. Like that's always great.
Yes. I'm still thinking about making similar game modes to that, or maybe explore some themes. I wanted to port some like game modes from other games, which are like, maybe Gary's mode games, and see which ones work. Oh, for example, the heavy players cannot kill some players. Those are cardless. Oh. Oh, that was a second. That was a cardless that I implemented to prevent people from griefing easily. That's also why the stun players explode, because they have a chance to explode the bombs that are nearby, so you cannot time it. So basically, everybody is in this together. So Itachi decided to bail, and now he's 5 seconds. I think he fell like 5 or 6 times already, so hopefully Ramrito would. Oh!
Uh
Uh-oh. That's bad luck. Oh no. Alright. Yeah. And now Epic, with this game on Bridget, with impact bombs with 10 seconds, it's my favorite rule.
Cool.
Aside from like run, and maybe rampage. These kinds of, the small maps which I like command presence, command good positioning and decision making.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's dead.
Uh oh.
Now he can just wait up the timer and hit them at the last second. Unless he just wants to, be like super taunt them and like hit them right away and just, run away.
Oh no! Oh no!
That was almost a fail.
Yeah. Oh man.
This is the game mode right there. That's what I like.
Yeah, like those moments. Yeah, that's awesome. When you kind of like know what's gonna happen, or
Yeah, BombSquad gives me an opportunity to play game designer like in a more like playful sense, because I do it as a day job, and I sometimes just want to relax and maybe experiment with some concepts. Like have a thing you wanna do and just play around, see what works.
Yeah.
In the original test, for example, the stunt was just like people were ragdolling, and sometimes it depending on the map, there were like the cycles were like people were ragdolling, then falling off again, and then ragdolling again, and like this endless loop, which was no fun, and it was also very hard to read, like for how long this guy is gonna lie down and stuff. So yeah, I had to make it like more explicit and more understandable with that stun state and stuff. So hopefully everybody is enjoying the plugin, and maybe they notice some like quirks which you can use to break the game, but hopefully it's working correctly.
Yeah, it seems pretty fun to me. I mean, I'm kind of half playing, half talking, but and yeah, it felt pretty natural. I think the auto run stuff.
Actually, there are official servers.
Yeah, there are official servers, but none of them have mods right now. This does make me super inspired to like get going on the like moddable cloud server stuff, like because I want you to be able to like add these games to like a list that people can play.
Yeah. So for now, you can differentiate these servers with like you have a game mode name, which is like FFA or Teams. Then you have the region, and then you have like a number of the servers. So if you want low ping, you just find your region, and that's it.
Yeah.
Actually, vanilla servers is one of the only servers I actually play. I just don't like the modded experience that the community has made so far. I'm not gonna enter the rant here because I don't want to ruin the mood. I do a lot of that outside the street, so.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Like once the game is more, once it's easier to play modded custom mini games and stuff, it'll be interesting to, yeah, come up with a default playlist or something. Like if there's, maybe that would change per season or something. Like the popular modded games, like trying to determine like which ones to include in like a default rotation without making the game too confusing, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because hot potato feels like vanilla, but it definitely isn't a vanilla game mode. You can feel by just playing it.
Yeah, yeah.
It has all the ingredients, but it is just complex enough for it to not be part of the official game mode. I think some people might not complain if it's maybe would actually want this to be an official game, but I definitely understand if it's not gonna be because it is kind of complex though with this stun state. Like I could just make it like with the stun by just just making so you can only play on football stadium or something, and like that's it. But I think the game mode would be much less fun if that happened.
Yeah.
People want lots of maps.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think.
The stun state was a necessary evil, but I think it does add to some excitement to the game and some strategy, which I think didn't exist back then. That strategy only exists because we play tested the game, and it turns out it's actually a very good mechanic.
Yeah. Well, as we saw in that last game, I mean, that was a fun moment at the end there, like, waiting for the countdown and, kind of like strategizing. Like, I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it started with the ragdoll, which means it was like frustrating and stuff. Then I made the state, but then it turns out, okay, people just can wait for that guy to like get unstunned and then kill him.
Yeah.
It's no fun for the other end. So I added the invincibility, okay, but then I can just wait for the stun and like time my bomb so I can just, still do it. So then I added the explosion so that if you're near, you get launched, and if you're using bombs, then the bomb like doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it was the winning combo. Oh, and of course, I made sure that when you're the stunt player, you are the safe player. So you are punished, of course, but it's only safe when the back player isn't around. So sometimes it is advantageous to jump off, assuming the timer isn't going to be too long. So the first and two falls, it's going to be fine. If you fall the fifth time, maybe you should reconsider it. Basically.
Yeah. But yeah, that does bring up an interesting question of just like when, because like you said, it does feel very much kind of like the built-in games. It just feels like, maybe it's a one step beyond in, complexity to where like when, maybe that would be something that could be part of a default rotation, but only like after you've played for a bit or something, it's just so you don't get like the absolute beginner players.
Or maybe have it like in the store, for example, like this kind of creates a barrier where the new players will definitely get them out unless they are already committed, stuff like that. I'm not saying that this game should be played, I'm just saying that it's one of the ways to like prevent new players from like playing something that is definitely way outside the league, at least for now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just noticing the lag on stream, it's really horrendous.
Oh yeah, right now, yeah. I feel bad. That does inspire me to fix that or I know that's been a problem for a long time, just getting the bandwidth down and stuff. Actually, I'm curious, like the lag I'm seeing right now, if how much of that is like bandwidth and how much of it is just distance. I think I have. Do I
I
have?
think it's
Oh, here we
I
go.
think it's
Network.
distance because yeah. But yeah, that's I wish I could have that.
Oh, you should. It should be just F8 to turn that off and on desktop versions. I think, right? Or is it not?
Let me see. Hopefully, it's not gonna crash the game.
Oh.
Frog debug. No, it doesn't. It doesn't show anything.
Oh, interesting. Okay, maybe that
Let's download it.
we should check that because that should be on everyone's. But yeah, this is just like
It says
showing.
network debug display and stuff. It is toggle. It's enabled, disabled, but it doesn't matter what should show. What is showing.
Oh, weird. Okay.
You know.
Huh. Okay. I
Oh,
we.
there's a turbo warning. I wonder if that's due to the bandwidth or the moving around the mouse, which makes like I don't know. I think that's just one singular thingy. Okay.
But yeah, sometimes you can see on here like.
The lamp. Hmm?
Oh, whoops. Okay, there we go. Like sometimes you can see weird. You can see like network packets come in like chunks, and then there's nothing for a bit, and then chunks,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
a lot of fuzzy math in the game to try to like smooth that out and like play the game smoothly, but it's tricky. We definitely.
I think especially on my end because it's not distance because if it is distance then it would just be constant lag
Oh yeah,
not just spikes. I think the spikes are from my own because in the neighborhood I'm only mostly from my own PC so I don't have like a dedicated server so that definitely can implement some stuff which like the game isn't perfectly playable all the time.
yeah, that's true. But who knows? I mean, there could be some like network equipment between here and there that maybe is buffering up stuff or something. So I'm curious if maybe it's not directly related to the distance, but maybe there's something just based on all the the hardware between here and there.
And I'm also watching the stream so that also can
Oh yeah, that could be.
introduce some problems. Yeah.
Yeah, but like this top graph here, it basically shows like how much time has been buffered. So like as stuff comes in, like this should be constant in a perfect world, but you can see like it grows and shrinks. So it's like stuff's coming in a little faster and a little slower, and then this run rate. This is like how fast it runs the game to try to like use as much buffer as it can with or keep as close to empty as possible. And then
Hopefully, with the new like NetPlay introductions, there's stuff like Rift, and maybe these lag spikes are gonna be solved, so the game like can basically fudge it before
yeah,
realizing okay maybe we should update this and that, and then on the user end like it doesn't not anything is really changing.
yeah,
Especially
that's the hope.
environments like for example I live in Europe, which means Europe servers is my go-to, but for example for you it might be like US servers or something.
Yeah,
So when you play on those, you should get the perfect exchange. Although there are some games where you can play from South Korea to California in fighting games, and it's still gonna be like perfect. So I guess good implementation is something that could actually make the game much more like worldwide. Like people are gonna
yeah, that's my hope.
squad and competitive play. Yeah.
Yeah, because it'd be great to be able to play against good players in Europe or Asia or whatever. If that is a technical possibility.
One of the main reasons I don't play online is mostly due to lag.
Yeah, me too.
Even
I
which is definitely better, it isn't perfect. And yeah, some people can play with that, of course. Some people like grow like a callus.
the pain goes away at some point. But yeah, it's still. I think I was mentioning this in some coffee with Eric's before. It's just like I don't play nearly as much online as I should, just because it pains me anytime there's lag and stuff. I feel responsible and sad.
Like this being your own worst critic is probably gonna make this net play even better, and normal people would prefer because there are fighting games which still use delay-based netcode.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a very big no-no. It's people when are lazy, but when it's rollback and it's made by like one guy, like you can't imagine how good the game is gonna be.
oh yeah,
People would want to play online, and I think it's very important for the private community. I mean, the big latency didn't stop the community from growing in 1.4 days, but it definitely stifled it just a tiny bit.
yeah,
Like I said, there are people like me who make mods but don't like playing online. So if I can play online, at least interact with fans more, and they can hey 1v1 me, I can just say yeah sure, like it's not a big deal. I'm not gonna cry when there's lagging because I'm just gonna play and have fun.
Yeah, kind of like what I'm doing right now. It's like there's a significant amount of lag just because of the distance, but it's like, just roll with it.
Okay, so when it comes to the future of the game, so far as I know, 1.8 is gonna have the dependency system with the asset downloading from servers and stuff.
Hmm.
Maybe some custom content, like official content. BombSquad, maybe there's gonna be a new map or something character, and then 1.9 is probably gonna have squads, and then 2.0 is like everything is gonna be working like a typical live service game is supposed to be.
Yeah, basically, like, yeah, 2.0 is, I mean, technically the only thing new in 2.0 will be like the releases on iOS and Steam, but it'll probably be a lot of just like bringing things together, just kind of like making squads mode the default, and just kind of, I'm considering it like a relaunch sort of thing. So that'll just be kind of, like I said,
Yeah.
just wrapping everything
There
up.
are definitely some people who like know of BombSquad only because it was on mobile and don't even aren't even aware the desktop versions are a thing. The only people that know about desktop versions is people who went on to 1.4 and basically like decided to fudge around with like website URLs and decided, hey, there's a repo, there's an FTP server, I can just download the Windows code and have fun.
Yeah,
It's not official, but it works.
yeah,
It's like it's the same game. Barely anything has changed, and it works beautifully. So people wonder, okay, why is this not released yet?
I
And
know. I
2.0 is gonna have one of those. People who didn't heard of the game or heard it as only mobile, maybe they could be interested, especially for like a strong foundation, maybe a trailer, and people will just get this. Have this game like next to the pantheon of other like amazing party games like Gang Beasts, like other local party games like Crawl or maybe Human Resource, the human regular human basketball, and maybe some other like more classic multiplayer games like Smash and GoldenEye.
Yeah, I would hope or expect it would definitely make more of a splash, with the 2.0 launch, and just making netplay much more accessible and all that stuff. In a way, I consider the last 10 years to just be like the world's longest soft launch, as they say, or like, the world's longest beta test. Um,
It makes sense. So we have this advantage of this going on. Like some people still don't know about the game, or if they know, they will know it as that dinky mobile game that runs VR for some reason.
oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of what I want to treat it as, a bit of like a relaunch in a way, maybe, change the, not the title, or I don't know, just kind of frame it as like, hey, this is a new game, like Bomb Squad 2.0, or just kind of have it in a way seem like fresh, and not just like, oh, hey, this is an update to a 10-year-old game.
Oh yeah,
So part of me had thought of just calling it like Bomb Squad 2 or something, but I don't really want to like split it into two code bases and double like my amount of maintenance stuff. So for technical reasons, I'd like to just keep working on this one monolithic thing. But I kind of want to frame it as like, hey, check out this new thing.
I mean if it's the same game but more polished, then there's no reason why it should be two separate code bases.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, another big motivation for me is just, I mentioned before, where I want to be able to like experiment with mini games and like try, like you're talking about, like try a little thing that takes 2 days to put together. But I don't want to, and it'd be fun to like share that with the world, but I don't want to have to manage like having a different, store entries and all the metadata, and all the, just stuff you have to do every time you release a new game. Like I prefer to not to skip that part and just be able to kind of like make a mini game and just have it out there. So that's kind of part of the motivation of just having Bomb Squad be a single thing. Even if we start experimenting with games that are a little bit more out there, even from the standard like spazzes running around, like we are talking about, like having a mini penguin character, or starting to do like different, a little bit more different stuff, just kind of within the same framework even.
Yeah, and I mean the new characters were really pleased with what four when the Penguin and the Santa was released. So and people definitely are still like hungry for new characters. And I hope and hopefully it's probably gonna either be these teased characters for like years, or maybe it's gonna be something totally new. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mentioned before, I want to move away from like monetizing features. I want to move away from like preventing people from creating playlists and stuff. It's like I hate doing that. It does cause more people to buy Pro, which pays the bills for me. So it's like I have to do that. But I'd like to maybe do more variations of the existing characters. Different color schemes, or slight slight
Yeah, we
slight spins on them, and just have the game purely monetized based off that stuff, and then take away the other
yeah.
locks and things.
This cosmetic is probably one probably one of the least contentious ones available. So if you're gonna do free to play, it's probably gonna be always cosmetic, maybe not features.
I prefer doing cosmetics. To me, it seems like the games that I play that feel the least like sleazy, like those are usually cosmetics. I think.
Yeah. I mean, when fighting games do like new characters as DLC and you're gonna pay for them, it's generally because it's like someone popular and they know it's gonna sell and stuff. And maybe you want that because it's like top tier and it's competitive and you wanna stay on top of your game and stuff. So yeah, there's definitely mixed signals when in terms of like bigger DLC. Like imagine if BombSquad had like a DLC with like a new campaign and missions and stuff, and then some people are just gonna be like, you know, I can just code it myself or just knock it. Like people are gonna just pirate it, so I care.
Yeah, yeah, that's true too. It's also finding that balance of like enabling people to mod stuff and make their own stuff, but then also having an incentive for them to want to unlock things in the official game.
So I guess by having the things that are like unlockable, like with money, be like very desirable. Maybe it's like a very good looking skin, or it's just maybe well made. Because despite me spending lots of times like making characters and maybe trying to fudge it without like doing play models and stuff,
Hmm.
it is still an art, which is for some people unaccessible. So sometimes a modded character might never be as good as like an official character made by someone who like knows how to make characters because they made like 8 of them.
Yeah.
Then you use different styles. You use clay, you use painting. So yeah.
So yeah, that'll be a. I know I've mentioned this before too, like a balance of like once it's easier to like mod, make your own characters and stuff like that. I'll probably still have to have some sort of. I mean, I'll have to look into it, but some sort of way to prevent people from, like throwing out a character like a Super Mario character or something, and then everyone starts using that. Just to make the game keep me from getting in trouble with for copyrighted stuff, and kind of keep it. I'll have to keep somewhat of a clamp on custom stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think I think we discussed this at one point.
yeah, I remember we did have this discussion, but yeah, it's still kind of in the back of my mind in terms of like, balancing that, making people free to mod anything, but also preventing me from getting in trouble or preventing like bad quality stuff from getting out there or, inappropriate stuff or whatever.
That's when you TLDR for those who didn't see the conversation and just wanted to get a quick gist of it. One of my suggestions was basically like in CS:GO, for example, or in other games where the official content is like very curated and very easy to access. So you know what stuff is like supported by the developer, and then there's like community servers hidden away in like a separate server browser, like public parties are now. So there's like somewhat of a soft like line between what is modded, what is official, and what isn't.
Yeah.
So
So yeah.
maybe the official Eric servers could be available by just one click of a button or something. It would just automatically make to the lowest latency server, while you could just go to the community server by using like a more hidden server browser, like you have today. So for example, the other button would be like separated, or maybe have some more options available. Anything that would signal to the players that this isn't hopefully something that would maybe there would be some kind of like ways to like manage content. Like I don't even know if you can even moderate servers anymore. Like I don't remember a single live servers game that goes both community server and official, aside from like TF2, which is like enforced by like commands. So for example, the official servers have like vanilla stuff that's always there and always official, but then some custom stuff is available like HUD, but then some are like totally like definitely not the official game, and people know that like without even spelling them out. Like Jake has like that kind of separation is what the game needs.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Something where good, yeah, it would be good to have kind of a sandbox, something where people can freely share stuff with people and experiment and evolve ideas and stuff like that, but also in a way where everyone knows that that's a sandbox and not the official game.
And at the same time, though, I was actually wondering, if the game gets ever released on Steam, if there's gonna be like Steam Workshop integration or even Steam servers, like you could host public parties like using the Steam services, because I know they can make like peer-to-peer like servers with stuff.
Yeah, that would definitely be
There was
worth
something.
looking into. I mean, I think it would be great if it was possible for like modders to make cool mods and make money off of them and stuff like that. Um, so I don't know if like integrating with Steam Workshop, or I guess I could just hire someone to like manage that and do that somewhat by hand, or yeah, a combination thereof. Like that would be.
You definitely have to read what the Steam Workshop does because I know you can take down mods if they break DMCA, but I've only seen this happen like Tabletop Simulator when there's like real designers going around and tracking down board games they don't agree with, like if they're pirated and stuff. But for like stuff that is totally original, yeah, definitely like when someone doesn't want the mod on your Steam and you have the resources and you have the IP to do that, then you can just send the DMCA and it just works.
Yeah.
It's not an unofficial source like Steam is monitoring this stuff
Oh
to
yeah,
some
yeah,
degree in response. They have an obligation to do that. So at
yeah,
least there's this kind of like support, even though it may not have moderators and stuff. I
yeah.
don't
So
really
that
know how it works like entirely. I know that you just click a button, it downloads to the game, and it works.
okay. I guess my question would be: it could be cool to like rely on that system. I wonder if we could have that integrated with all the versions, or like even use Steam Workshop, but have that stuff accessible, from Android, stuff like that.
I
Or
think no. I think if there is going to be like a version, a Steam version that's different to like a Windows version or an Android version, it's probably gonna be all the SDKs and all the features that make Steam unique, like achievements, maybe the peer-to-peer stuff like hosting temporary servers of other Steam users, or for example, Steam Rich Present, because yes, Steam also has rich presents for some reason, and yeah, that these kinds of like unique features. And maybe Steam input, maybe official Steam input like support, so you can do like actions, maybe macros
oh
on
yeah,
like
yeah,
a strange controller that doesn't have official support or something.
yeah.
For example, my friend Swap plays on a Steam controller, and I have the Steam controller as well. So yeah, it's a strange device, but it's kind of a pain to set up with games that aren't on Steam. So
I actually have one too. I've never used it, but I got it just to play with it at some point. The weird like flat touchscreen or the touchpads and
if you're playing first-person shooters and you're like ready for something unique and fun, and maybe play some like retro shooters, maybe
yeah,
and get the gyro working and the touchpads, it can be a very rewarding experience, even though you may not play like at the highest possible like level. Even though there are people who like play Doom Eternal or Nightmare on Steam control, and it's fine.
yeah.
And people say it's actually better than like sticks and even flick sticks. So
That is
that
interesting.
maybe has some hardcore fans, myself included.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed they stopped making it officially, right? Like a few years ago.
Yeah, they stopped. If I remember correctly, there was like a patent troll which prevented the further like models to be created, and apparently there's a rumor there's gonna be a second model coming out.
Oh, cool.
But that's only like there was a patent field for the second model, and there's still like lots of stuff. That's why the Steam Deck uses buttons instead of like paddles, because the patent like covered the paddles of the back of the Steam controller, because there are like two buttons on the back which you can press. It's like a plastic that bends and there's a button hidden under it. Yeah, that was like not good.
Huh.
They have to stop making these. There was like a huge resale you could buy for a Steam controller like for $1 or $2,
Uh huh.
and unfortunately they didn't ship to my country. And at one point I think there was like a server overload, so even though it went back in stock, it ran out of stock in like a minute or less.
Hmm.
So if you're one of the lucky ones, you could get a Steam controller or two for cheap.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I wasn't one of those people though.
Oh.
It's like, but I still paid the full price because even though the controller feels cheap, it still delivers on what it's supposed to be. By the way, Valve didn't know that gyro is going to be so influential in first-person shooters. Like it's gonna be so useful for aiming. It's kind of something that the community discovered, and then like Nintendo used its Splatoon, and then now everybody who plays on Nintendo or is aware of Steam Input is like saying, okay, first-person shooters on gamepad, use the gyro. Always use the gyro.
That's interesting. I don't think I've seen that yet. I guess the first time I ran into something similar was again playing Mario Kart recently on Switch, where it's like I didn't realize at first that that was using the gyro, and I was like, why does my car keep turning right? And it's because I was like holding the controller that way. But then like once you realize that, it's like, oh cool, this is kind of like this plus the joystick is a nice kind of combination. So I could see it being the same for first person shooters.
And the gyro was kind of a selling point on Mario Kart Wii, so yeah, That dated way back.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was before people realized gyro could be used for aiming too, only not only for driving. So
Yeah, it seemed like back in the Wii days, I mean, it seemed a little, the Wii was fun, but it almost seemed like a gimmicky thing, or like early iPhone games, that used the gyro. Like,
it had some fun games, but there were few and far in between, and maybe games that do go like super unique, or maybe there are shooters with viewer mode that are apparently very good, but at the same time, yeah, there isn't a lot. Like people rarely remember the shake the Wiimote to not die and stuff like that.
oh, geez. Uh-oh.
One won't just. Oh, okay, you did it. Now run, 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 run.
Oh, no, no, no. Oh, that was a good moment. Oh, I thought I was free.
Oh. I mean, having the game back in, like, it started from being like a quick check out my mode to something like background footage, which I think some people enjoy.
Oh, yeah, this is kind of nice, actually, just like having a conversation and having a game in the background.
Yeah. So there's definitely. Yeah, so there's a reason kind of I've been working on the game for like a long time. And the game is just very fun to mod. Everything is open, everything is accessible. The programming language is also very accessible. Like I didn't even know the language. I only knew like basics of programming. All I did was just browse through the code and I just learned along the way as I read it.
Cool,
Started with
cool.
editing values, then started with like minor edits, then started with like making custom bombs, power ups, and now entire mechanics.
Yeah, you've definitely.
As a game designer, like I started with this game, this little indie game, and now I'm like I work commercially.
Yeah. Well, that makes me super happy. It's like, oh, my little toy helped someone learn stuff.
Yeah, it mattered. And I think that's one of the great strengths of like solo games, basically. Oh, okay,
Oh,
that was my fault.
oh, it's all
I
good.
guess there was like a huge lag spike or something, and people like.
Oh, it's all good. But
At least some new people get to join too, and
oh yeah, I'll let some new
because
people
now
join.
it's different. Yeah, because like there was like one or yeah, most of the same crew was like playing the server. So hopefully some new people get to check out the mod as well, maybe, and maybe see what I mean by why Opera probably should be like operational. Just
Yeah.
my opinion.
So yeah, I definitely feel like we should get that in for as soon as I get the scene splitting stuff, like scene version 2, like we should, get some stuff like that in there. So I need to jump on that here soon. I'm very close to being done with the last 1.7 stuff, and then yeah, it's going to be starting to rip stuff apart for that.
And this is still probably still in a spring cleaning phase, which I think some people don't like because like there's no new content. But I can still see stuff like behind the scenes, like how it's all like being cleaned up. Because I believe that once everything is done, adding new content is just gonna be much easier and much more fun. Because I think that at earlier point it's probably just was kind of a chore maybe. Maybe not all people got to like experience that. I remember when the new characters were added or teased, those weren't actually like the idea is from what I can tell when the 1.8 wasn't even like considered, 1.5 wasn't considered. Like these characters were like supposed like if I add them one by one, the old version are still gonna be compatible. It's just gonna be regular squads. So, but I think that one is kind of long gone now that we have a game that's actually much more stable and it can actually work anywhere. Especially now that the 1.4 and 1.7 is probably gonna be like super disconnected with the V2 accounts and stuff. Make it much more polished and official.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 1.7 or yeah, I guess 1.7 will kind of be a bit of a breaking point. Like I said, especially once I get these updated builds out for Mac and for Oculus, it'll definitely that I can start kind of making a bit more of a break. Um, but that there's upsides to that.
Oh yeah. At the same time, like it's so strange to talk about the game right now because I know lots of stuff is happening. I don't see a lot of it, but that's mostly because it's invisible. Like it's not something they're either supposed to see. I mean, that's kind of the point, right, of these campaign stuff. But at the same time, I'm so hyped. Like I want I have these like cool ideas. People who have seen like my other like spin-off games, like say, why haven't you released it? Like it looks so cool. You should work on it. Like, and I'm like, that's 1.4. Like when I make 1.4, nobody's gonna download it. Like
Oh
people are
yeah.
on 1.5, 1.7, and people would want like it on the server and Android, and I'm like, like I wanna have it so bad. Like have people like experience the game, but it's too early for that.
Yeah. I do get like conflicted sometimes because some of the server side stuff is kind of independent of like the client stuff, like 1.8 or 1.9. Like I could get, like server side modding working on 1.7 because like most of the pieces, like V2 accounts and all that stuff is in place. So it's like part of me thinks like, maybe I should just take a little time and get that part working so that people like you can start putting fun mods out there that everyone can play. So it's tricky to know like how to schedule this stuff, because like I want the asset stuff in there, and like that would be great. But I'd also love like the server side modding or the cloud modding. So it's hard to know like what to jump on next.
Yeah, the reason why I'm so like excited over 1.8 is mostly because of the accessibility of the whole. Yeah, you can just join a server, and then you just have the mods. You don't have to download to go to sketchy links. You don't have to trust me. You just have to trust the server you're joining, and that's it. You get a cool character, maybe some cool power-ups, maybe some cool gimmicks. Like I could make entire games that are just like server like specific. At the same time, though, it's hard for me to justify making an entire new build, even if it's 1.9 or 2.0, because at the same time, because 1.8 is like so open, like I can just make my sugar mod or something, make it work on server, and just release it as its own standalone thing, and people will just enjoy it. You don't have to download like a standalone thing, unless I wanted to do single player mode, which is like a totally different story. Because multiplayer thingy is much easier work to do it because you just make this all the server stuff and content. For single player, you kind of want to lock some features that I mentioned earlier with the online play and stuff. So you want to complete the super hard mod, but you don't want other people like joining in or maybe have mods like that are leaking from one game into the other and stuff. So all these little stuff, if they're all done, then I'm gonna be a happy camper because it's so close.
Yeah.
That kind of like the perfect moddable game. I'm serious because there's not a lot of Android games that are moddable. So that's one thing. And second thing, it's probably not a lot of games which have like so low barrier to entry because at the end of the day there's like mod creators which are like click on a couple of buttons and the mod just spits out. But this game is like so open that even if you don't know the internal layer, you can still do lots of stuff. And I was working with the game for like 5-6 years, so yeah, I definitely started to appreciate how the game is built, even if it wasn't in a messy 1.4 state.
Cool. Yeah. So that's kind of, like I said, that was one of my original goals for the game, is to try to make it, as easy to tinker with as possible. I probably mentioned this. I was super inspired by like Warcraft 3 back in the day. I don't know. That's kind of a super old game at this point, but just like all the custom maps and custom mini games people made for Warcraft 3. Like I didn't actually play Warcraft 3 very much, but I played all those like custom mini games, like basically like Dota, the original, versions of that. People made such a fun, diverse set of things out of the base of Warcraft 3. So I don't know, it kind of inspired me to want to do something similar, where make like a base of a game, but make it flexible where people can like take it in crazy directions and just have fun with it.
Yes, for those people who still stuck around and still wanna play with the mod, I'm gonna switch on to co-op now. So if you wanna try it out, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it ready.
Cool.
Yeah, that was just a slight tangent. All right.
All right, so let's see. I guess actually I should cover, while we're here, I should mention a few other things that are kind of new this week. Like I spent yesterday, first off, I apologize to anyone who's submitted pull requests for the game in the last few months. I finally am getting those pulled in. So I'll just go through those real quick. Ballistica, GitHub. So there's some I still need to pull in, but there's some that I did just pull in. So let's see. So yeah, this one was merged. So Era OS Beta, thank you for this. There was, I guess, an issue where, does this show it? Oh yeah, like if you get a curse and then heal and then get a curse again, I guess you would still explode with the original curse time. So it's just kind of a goofy bug. Didn't realize. So thank you for that. That fix is in there now. This one by, I don't know, Retique? How am I saying that right? There's so many names where like I read them and I've like read them a million times, but I've never actually said them out loud. So I feel like I like Deliwick. Of course, he said that's not intended to be said out loud, but anyway, Retique put a fix in there to where if you're for the manual party connect screen, it remembers the last port that you entered. So that's very nice. Thank you for that. Plugin settings. This one's very cool. So plugin settings now, under settings, advanced plugins. So Vishal 3320008. Thank you for this. There's a settings button here on plugins where you can just enable all plugins, disable all plugins, and also determine whether new plugins will auto-enable themselves. So very cool little handy thing here.
Yeah, and it definitely looks like very vanilla. One of my pet peeves is basically the interface. It's very hard to like get working with the original style. So yeah, this looks very nice.
Yeah, I feel like it fits well. It seems to. Again, I apologize for the terrible UI API. It's super hard to get something that like responds naturally. You have to like manually set up the button relationships. Like the right key goes here, left key goes here, and then just like manually position things to look right.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell when some people haven't like focused on that. You know, the things don't quite look like they fit in. You have to kind of put in a.
Utilitarian.
You definitely have to put in some time, kind of like trying to manually make things look kind of consistent with the UI. So yeah, this is very well done.
Yeah, the most important thing is that the thing works and we have a base to build upon.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. It's like functionality is important, but it's also, you know, it is important to have it look like it fits into.
I forgot people play co-op and they cannot restart automatically. I have to get the button.
So thank you for that, Vishal. And let's see what else we got here.
And I guess those plugin settings are like can be individual too. Like you can have some variable change or some kind of like settings window. Because I remember that was like one of the features in one of the other plugin managers. There's like two of them. One of them is super popular, the other didn't go on.
Oh, are you talking about the individual plugin settings like this?
Yes.
Yeah, this is something I added recently where, yeah, your plugin can expose a function that gets called. Like right now it just prints would show settings, so there's nothing here, but this is officially in there. So if you do want to make a plugin that brings up some custom UI or something, you can do that. But
Very cool.
the PR that I just pulled in, this is just about like the global plugin settings here. I guess it's a little odd that like these are plugin settings and they have the icon, and these are technically plugin settings and it says settings. I don't know if we'd want to like give this the icon as well, or I mean, it's not a huge deal, but
I mean, at this point, it's all about basically cleaning up and positioning stuff. So
oh yeah, the functionality is there, so that's the important part.
yeah, maybe in the next update, maybe someone else is gonna take it upon themselves to improve the
Yeah.
relationships and stuff so it looks neat.
I mean, I kind of like the icon. In general, like icons are nice because you don't have to like translate them, and people understand like, oh, I feel like that's a pretty well-known like settings icon.
Yeah.
So like maybe we just want that. We could use that same one for the plugin per plugin settings too.
I guess it's about margins and padding, and with the several settings, you probably want to separate the buttons between the individual plugins and global plugins, like in terms of settings. So they look the same, and you think they do the same thing. So
Yeah, that is true. So maybe it's okay to have like, you know, the settings icon and then the settings button.
yeah,
Because yeah, it could be confusing. It's like why is there the same button for everything? Because technically this is like global plugin settings and this is per plugin settings. So they're kind of two different things.
or have it like in the playlist window where you select the thingy. I think that was more for a game plan. Like so that you select the thing, and then the button is edit this game in particular, for example. So you could have like a settings button, which is like
Oh yeah, like per plugin, yeah, plugin settings.
Yeah.
I remember there's something I read a long time ago. It was like a Mac UI convention. It was saying like you're always supposed to have buttons like refer to the exact action, just like save file or something, as opposed to like okay. It's saying like it's better to have things more descriptive. because sometimes you get like weird cryptic dialogues where it says like okay cancel, and it's like what is this asking me? Whereas if the button says like save file or
It kind of needed that, I think.
yeah. So okay, anyway, so yeah, global plugin settings, very cool. What else do we have? There's a few I still need to pull in, so I'm going to get to that right after this coffee time is over. Oh, in-game ping. This will be very cool. So this just gives you an option under advanced settings where you can turn on like just a show your current ping for the current server in the corner. So, whoops. Another name where I have no, Thank you, yeah.
It's like listeners.
So, but yeah, I still need to pull in this one. There's one issue I'm looking at where, as part of this, it has to like send messages out periodically just so the ping can be measured. And I think it's doing that slightly incorrectly now, so I need to take a look at that. But once that's cleaned up, I'll get that in there later today. So we should have in-game ping option. So thank you. And oh yeah, this one too. This is just an environment variable. If you're running a server, it will let you basically set the name of your what your device shows up as. In some cases, when you're running a number of servers, you might want your game to have custom, so you can tell which server it is, stuff like that. Even on like a local network. So I just had one question about this, but I'll probably be getting this pulled in later today. Oh, cool. This has already been updated, so I technically could pull this in right now. At least it looks like it has. Let me check. So yeah, BA device name. Cool. Yay.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I'm not the type of guy that actually does a lot of PRs on Ballistic. I think this scares me kinda.
Oh yeah, I haven't done a ton of PRs myself for other repos. It's a little scary, but it's not that bad if you want to give it a try. But yeah, have you worked with like Git for any purposes?
I do at work, and now I do with my personal projects too.
Okay. Yeah, I used to, like when I was working with my friends for a few years, I did a lot of Git. Now I feel like I'm doing very little now. It's like my personal like save button basically. Like I'm not doing much like in terms of merging and things like that. It's more just like it's nice to have a way where like to save my progress. So if I mess up, I can go back. It's like a global save.
For me, at least, I think it's more about that I basically enjoy making gameplay stuff more, and the game is already so polished and stuff that it's kind of hard to make stuff that doesn't encroach on like new features and stuff. Like the game is super polished. I don't see a lot of bugs, a lot of like backend stuff that I probably shouldn't know about it.
So, well, that's good to hear. But I mean, that is the goal of the game too. Is like we shouldn't, I don't want to rely. I don't want people to have to make pull requests to like improve the game. Like if you're making a mini game, you should be able to just make a standalone mod script that people can install easily. We shouldn't have to go through Git for most things. That being said, I do appreciate all these little bits of polish that people are sending. And if I ever, please don't be offended if I ever like decline a pull request. I'm just trying to be consistent with stuff, and sometimes it's like not the right time for a certain feature, or like one thing I'll probably have to respond here. There was a few tweaks to the physics here, and they were like minor fixes. Like this one, if you're knocked out, drop any object that we're holding, like which seems like a good thing. Like I don't think there's any like I don't think there's anyone who would be sad if you drop things when you're knocked out. I know I've seen that happen sometimes. Like you're knocked out, but you're still like holding on to a flag or something. It's like what the heck.
This definitely happens when you get frozen, but I think that's different stuff in there.
Yeah. So like little gameplay fixes like that, I'm happy to accept these. But there's actually with these, I was kind of explaining here that it actually introduces one minor issue, is that this is the C++ layer simulation, and so if you have some people that have this fixed and some people that don't have this fixed and they're playing together, it's going to like mess things up, which is another reason for like the the scene versioning, so we can basically split off a new version of the physics and stuff like that, and make changes like this without like causing problems for old people, like old or for people with old versions of the game. They'll basically use the old scene version, so they'll get the old physics and flaws included. But
Oh yeah.
so a few of these PRs, basically, I'm going to suggest we hold off on until the scene versions are in there, which will hopefully not be too terribly long. But that'll be part of the 1.8 stuff. So probably I'm going to make the same note on this tweak, which I think is the same, essentially the same thing, just fixing it at the C layer. If I believe it's just like dropping, yeah. If frozen or knocked out, then don't do jump stuff, which is a good fix. But like I said, it'll break physics if some people have it and some don't. So we need to hold off until scene version 2.
I definitely want to check out the C layer a bit closer once I go. I know definitely that you can do stuff like turn that into fast forward mode if you want to do that stuff. But I didn't go beyond past that, so I definitely didn't compile the game yet. I definitely want to try it once I find it.
Cool. I hope it. Yeah. Let me know if and when you try it, like any problems you run into. I want it to be as accessible as possible. And I'm hoping with the scene versioning stuff, I'm hoping to make it where people can like split off their own scene versions, so people can like come up with their own completely different like spaz node, or like completely change the physics. So like I have no idea what that'll lead to, but it seems like it could be fun for people to experiment with. It's
I remember someone messing around with ballistic on Windows, and apparently it's safe to build now. Is that correct?
yeah, it should be. I mean, it should be buildable. I have there's a GitHub action here. It's actually every time I submit a change, one of the tests it does, it compiles it on Windows. So you should be able to build the binary using everything in this repo.
So I assume the tutorial is like fully updated and stuff. Like I don't have to
I think
worry
so.
about that stuff.
I mean, it shouldn't be out of date. Like if that's compiling for Windows is definitely something I want to be supported. So if you're trying to do that and it's not working, please holler. I know you ran into some problems before. I don't know if we got those resolved. Like something with different versions of Visual Studio. Like
But to be honest, I just gave up.
yeah, I mean, compiling can be like that. Sometimes it's so infuriating just trying to get something to build. But if there's things that we can improve, like make something more general, like make the make file work with different Visual Studio versions or something.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the main priority, at least for building on Windows, should be the first user experience. Like they should be able to follow the wiki, and there shouldn't be like any kind of like issues that could, if there are issues, the wiki should acknowledge it and like have easy fixes for it and stuff like that. Like VSL2, okay, I know how to install it. I'm kind of literate in programming and stuff, so I could do that working. But when there's stuff that is like exclusive to Ballistica, yeah, that is something that's gonna put a dent on people who would wanna try out, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be great to. I mean, we have. Oh, where is that? Getting started. I think the getting started guide. There is the kind of step by step for Windows, and a lot of it, we basically rely on getting WSL going and then using like makefile stuff. I think. Oh yeah, same. So it's basically the same as the Linux workflow. So hopefully it's not too complicated. It should do a lot of it for you, but I'm sure, like I remember you ran into that problem. Like we need to just smooth over those problems so that the average person doesn't hit those.
The page does look different, so I'm definitely hopeful that this time I might, hopefully I uncover a different error.
Hopefully, yeah. I know like this WSL stuff is still. I mean, it's not new. It's been around for a few years, but it's very popular. A lot of people are using Windows as kind of a Linux build system too now and stuff. So hopefully it's stabilizing, and maybe some of these weird corner cases are disappearing. Like I know there's some issues where like if it exists on the Windows part of the file system, like people run into weird issues, or if it exists on the Linux part of the file system, like there's some weird inconsistencies. I think it mentions one or two of them here. Maybe.
I might give it a try this weekend.
Cool. Yeah, and definitely, even if you hit a brick wall, it would be great to know like what the current problems are.
And I'm definitely gonna update the discussion that I made like a couple months ago, so because I think this is like very, very appropriate, and I think there's lots of info already and it's constantly updated with new stuff from other people. So I guess just adding more ammo
Yeah,
definitely need help. I need a parent.
yeah. Like even if you run into problems, like one thing we can do, there's a few cases already where like if you get a certain error, it at least like prints some info about that error. Like I think the file system thing does that, where it's like not able to run on this system. Like you might need to move this to Windows. Like even if there are weird things that need to be worked around, we can at least like look out for those errors and kind of print some info about them, just to kind of hopefully help people get through them or work around them.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a transitionary stage, so I'm definitely very open to that.
Yeah, and at some point, I still like it's another thing on my to-do list is to get the game completely buildable without like right now you have to have the internal libraries, which are like those pre-built like internal chunks of code. I'd love to get the game buildable without that stuff. It just means like it'll be limited, like it won't have account functionality and stuff like that. Like you won't be able to play, uh, like the squad system won't work without the internal bits. But you should still be able to like build the game and at least play like single player stuff or whatever. So like I want to finish that up at some point because at that point then there's nothing that is needed for me. There's no like binary pieces that you need, so people will be able to like fix theoretically be able to fix any build issues because it'll just be like a bunch of source code. Whereas like right now there's some things that theoretically can't be fixed without me. Like if someone wanted to like compile an ARM version for Windows, you wouldn't be able to do that because I'm not providing like the internal library built for ARM, stuff like that.
Oh, I was actually about to ask that. So for example, if I wanted to make my own game, but I don't care about all the like internal stuff that the BombSquad uses to connect to the master server stuff. I just want to make a single player game or maybe an online multiplayer game that's entirely community servers. And I can just disable these features like easily. Maybe with a build, maybe some kind of config, I can just change some stuff and it will just work. Like the game is open, but it still allows me to like mess around and disable any features on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean right now you should be able to build it and yeah, just like ignore the account stuff or whatever. But yeah, my goal is that you should be able to build it without any of the account stuff. Like it shouldn't even like right now it'll fail to like link if the internal library is missing, but it should be able to run completely without that internal library. That's my goal.
Do you plan to implement that in 1.9 or 2.0?
That's not really. I don't really have a specific plan. I made a lot of progress on that this last summer when I was actually on vacation with my parents. I was just like, oh, this will be fun to like kind of clean that layer up a little bit. So if you notice, there's certain other things like Python now initializes in the main thread and other things where it's like slowly kind of untangling some of the mess that is like the Python and internal libraries and all this stuff. And then I have a few more steps there where basically kind of taking like the internal part and wrapping that into like just a Python module or something to where like Python tries to load that and use that. But if it's not there, like, oh well, like that's okay. So once that's ready, then the entire game um, should work without that internal stuff. But I don't really have like a timeline or on when I should do that. It's just it's on my radar. It's something I want to get to at some point.
Yeah, because I'm definitely super excited for like using Ballistic as like a general game engine because there's lots of potential here. But we already discussed that.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that, I mean, I'm hoping that would benefit me too. There's always this little fear in the back of my mind that like, oh, someone will take all that and like build their own master server and then like I'll just like lose control of everything. But it's like I feel like that hopefully won't happen. And it's like I think the benefits would hopefully for me outweigh the downsides of just making something people can use for whatever they want. Like they're gonna naturally want to take that and improve it and things like that. So
And the game is a multi-license, so yeah, so it definitely limits some stuff you can exploit with the engine itself at least.
yeah, well, technically, I mean, yeah, all the source is MIT licensed, which means you can do most anything with that. I think that's about the most. Or is there a more free open source license? I think the MIT is pretty much like do whatever you want with this code. Um,
Whatever you want, but you have to basically include the license in the source code itself, or maybe pay me the credits that you used it. So if I make a game with Godot, which is also an IT license, I have to basically include the license file in the code itself that I used in Godot engine, and I also have to have it in the credits or something. So basically, yeah, you have to acknowledge that you used the thing. But you
yeah,
can do whatever you want with commercial, non-commercial, whatever.
Yeah. That's the main thing. Is like if people want to do commercial stuff, like that's totally fine. So
Yeah,
I,
it's not as restrictive as GPL, so that's one thing.
yeah, I didn't want to go GPL with it. Well, for one, like there's some weird things with GPL. Like if you release GPL built stuff like on iPhone, you technically have to have a way to like you can't release a GPL thing without allowing users to like rebuild the thing themselves or something, which like you technically can't on iPhone stuff. So it's I don't know. There's weird tricky things where you have to like add some like carve outs in your license or have multiple licenses, and I don't know. I didn't want to worry with that, so I'm just doing MIT where it's like do what you want with the code, hope it's useful. Technically, like
Yeah,
the the assets and like the art and stuff. I mean, I still those are copyrighted or something, so
yeah, definitely.
it's technically not legal for someone to just like sell their own version of BombSquad or something. But if you want to like replace all the assets and use all the source code and make your own spin off on it, like that's totally legal.
So when I put so when I make so like I make ghetto bombs where everybody goes around with guns and throwing grenades. I put shades on the spouse and it becomes like a badass. Like it's totally fun because the context is totally different and the character it's obviously like parodying something. Like it's obviously it's not supposed to be spouse. Like we know it's like a one made thing and it's some kind of some kind of perversion. Let's say if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, that would be fun. That'd be cool to see.
Yes, I mean, I already have a 1.4 version. Maybe I could showcase to some people because some people are gonna scream because some people are actually like they saw this thing and they wanna have it released very very much, but at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, stuck in the transitionary state because I wanna release it at some point. I definitely wanna because I know people want it, but at the same time, yeah, I just gonna wait for the right moment and strike it.
Yeah,
And I don't have to make all the co-op stuff because it's gonna be for servers. So that's definitely gonna make stuff easier for me. I just gonna have to do the gameplay, do the maps, do the content, and that's it.
yeah, yeah. It's
Because
like
in that regard, I have one map finished and most of the gameplay. So the game is playable and it's very fun.
very cool. But
So I just have to wait for the right moment.
yeah, yeah, this darn waiting. There's not enough hours in the day. I feel bad when anyone asks me like, oh, how do I like build a new model or something, and I just have to tell them like, please just wait a little bit. It'll be so much easier. Um,
Yeah.
I don't want to like. I feel bad telling people like, don't do it right now, but it's yeah, it'll be totally like different. It would be interesting. I should show people like my super ghetto setup. I don't actually have Maya installed right now. I need to get that installed so I can like tweak my original stuff as needed. But I should show people just like my super ghetto setup that I did for like building the original stuff.
Yeah, if you ask me about people that ask these kind of questions back in like 3 years ago, I'd probably say, oh, it's so annoying and saying the same questions over and over again, and it's up to the community to introduce them, and they don't want to do the work and stuff. But nowadays, I have some sympathy for these guys because like the stuff is out there. It's just not available.
Yeah,
The for example, if you wanna make a new model, you have to not only learn the code and how to introduce stuff like that, but also realize there's a Blender add-on for that, which is kind of obscure. You have to know that it exists if you wanna use it and stuff like that. So yeah,
yeah.
and you have to learn Blender too, which is like a different kind of mouse entirely.
Oh yeah. I need to learn Blender one of these days. I'm still I'm paying for a Maya license, which is like super expensive, and I'm not even like I said, I don't even have it installed right now. I'm just paying for it just in case I need to tweak stuff. And but yeah, for the little bit of 3D I'm doing these days, like I should just learn Blender.
Apparently, the version 3 is like very very good.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Like it's starting to get to that point where it's definitely a viable replacement for the expensive stuff.
Those things, yeah, in terms of 2D now, and if I remember correctly, apparently now they're working on like tools that are gonna make the workflows even faster. Stuff like making rigs and rigging and stuff. Stuff that is supposed to be easy and you do it often and just have it like one click or two clicks, something like that.
Yeah.
One of those like most often stuff is like as easy to do as possible because those are the stuff that people don't wanna do,
Oh yeah.
like rigs and stuff.
Yeah.
So the tedious stuff is taken care of. I don't know when it's gonna arrive. I just know that they're working on stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be way more like way more reasons to switch to Blender, growing speed because the grease pencil is just so good.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's hit that like critical mass where enough people are contributing to it, and like it's starting to become like this, just
Really
like
seriously.
it's like Linux. Like Linux. Everyone uses Linux for building stuff on top of Linux. I mean, Android's built on top of Linux. All these servers use Linux. It's just like this worldwide, shared thing. It seems like Blender is kind of becoming like that, where it has a lot of momentum.
At the same time, I think Blender is definitely one of those suites that I think has a much wider appeal because Linux is still considered like a nerdy thing to have or know about. If you're knowing Linux, you're probably a programmer or someone like that that contributes to open source software like on a daily basis. So it's
Yeah,
kind of type still specialist. But I don't think Blender or Godot is in this state. They're popular enough to be like everybody is paying attention now.
yeah. That's true. When I say Linux, I mean I'm referring not just like desktop Linux. Only like nerds like Dwillick use. I used to use desktop Linux. I loved it. Back when I was working at Pixar, we were all desktop Linux. But um, I but when I'm referring to Linux, I just mean like so much stuff we don't realize. Like I said, like Android is built on top of Linux and things. I mean, so many people use Android phones, so it's like so many of us are using Linux on random devices without thinking about it. So not necessarily from like a knowing that you're using Linux, but just so many people are using it.
Yeah, so hopefully it does reach this stage because I remember trying to move into Linux, and one of the reasons I didn't stick for longer than 2 weeks was because every single other company was basically ignoring that Linux exists.
Oh yeah,
Features are broken or didn't exist, or some software was like very poor performant, and there's Wayland, so that's even more stuff to think about,
oh
and
yeah,
it's just a mess.
yeah. It is. Yeah, for me, I mean, I had a good time with it, but yeah, there was a lot. You definitely had to be prepared for things to break and like spend a few hours looking into like some obscure way to fix things or something. And this
My
was,
brother,
I mean, I haven't been running Linux for a while. Maybe it's improved, but I kind of feel like I feel like some of that is just inherent to like that, style or like that, the people that use it. It's always going to be kind of that way.
a relative of mine bought a Swedish or a Norwegian like ThinkPad, which is also doubles as a tablet, and normally he doesn't have luck with his electronics, but now he has, and it's the best thing. He uses it in college, and it's just when he's bored, he can just draw stuff or play something like Nevermore or something.
Yeah.
So Linux definitely is a revival, like OS for reviving like old laptops and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I have my original laptop. Like the first laptop I ever owned was like a super old Mac laptop, and yeah, I have Linux on there, so I can't boot Mac OS on it anymore. But it's got some version of Linux. Or I had an old iMac at some point, or I don't know. It's yeah, something like Dell PC. I had that was like my main kind of work or slash like school computer back in like when I was going through art school. Like that, yeah, I had Linux on that. But nowadays I'm lazy and I just run like Mac OS, which is close enough. It has all like the Unixy bits, but it's like I can be lazy and just not have to fix things as often and whatnot.
So yeah, anyway, the future is bright, and I'm really glad to be a part of this journey.
So yeah, I'm super. Well, I'm glad to have you. You've done some awesome work with it. You really kind of push the boundaries on modding, and so I'm definitely. It's very like inspirational for me to have people like you doing that type stuff. It makes me want to like make the system easier to use, or like I said, like cloud mods and things like that. Make just I spend more and more of my time I feel like building infrastructure and building like foundations, but I think it's totally worth it because then people like yourself can really do awesome stuff on top of that, and it makes me happy to see. So
And I'm definitely very happy that I have this more, acknowledged that there's this, this conversation between the two of us. There's like our relationship going, and this definitely makes me like less stressed about what people think, and definitely if I'm even gonna be noticed, like if my passion is in vain or do I just do it because I love the game, and at the same time, it's glad that it's both of these that I both enjoy the game and that you appreciate what I do, and I'm definitely gonna do more of that in the future because I'm gonna become personal right now. One of the things that I recently was very hard about, I was making my own game. It was very hard to do, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I lost my passion entirely until I took a step back and I decided to stop, and I realized what I was even trying to do with the was doing BombSquad mods, and it was so natural to me. I could just, oh, there's an idea I could have, and 2 or 3 days later, boom, there's a mod, and I can just share with people, and it's very gratifying to make stuff that you care about. And I'm
Awesome.
definitely very happy that I could talk with you about my mod here and maybe about the future of BombSquad, and I definitely was having a very good time here. I mean, I was in this stream for like almost 2 hours now, and I don't feel tired at all.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I feel the same way when I'm doing these. They like go so fast, and I was like, "Oh crap! It's been 2 hours. I guess I should wrap this up or something." But yeah, it's fun to chat about this stuff and nerd out.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely like that you don't have to, stay strict with the topics you have to cover. Of course, there is topics you want to cover. You still want to, inform people what is going on. But at the same time, I do like that there's still, some kind of, should I say, humanity left. Like I'm not talking to some corporate entity.
Oh yeah,
I'm talking to just a guy in his bedroom that
yeah,
works on the game in his free time, and at the same time, he likes doing it, and he likes making a good game, and I enjoy playing good games, so I work on that good game.
yeah, and like yeah, likewise. It's awesome for me too. Is that yeah? It's just people here because they want to have fun and make stuff and play around and
It's a
all that.
community.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely want to like foster that part of it. Um, and I mean, hopefully it'll stay that way. Like, I don't have any plans to like start a company and hire a bajillion people and whatever. I mean, who knows what'll happen? Like, maybe I'll decide to do that. But right now, I'm definitely explicitly trying to keep things small and trying to keep this about like having fun. And as long as I'm making enough to support myself, like I'm happy. I just there's definitely downsides to like trying to scale up and do that whole thing. It's like I feel like you can lose control of something and it becomes more about money than about fun and this and that. So it's like I definitely want to tread carefully and I want to just kind of keep it about fun.
Yeah, and I think I definitely feel it, and hopefully the other people feel it too. But I'm just worried that if the community is gonna get larger and larger, some bad apples are gonna appear, and I wonder if you're actually ready.
Yeah, that. I guess that is a fear or something. Yeah, it's like if things get too big, it like starts to be stressful, or it starts to just be like a burden, or like the fun gets sucked out of it or something. Like yeah,
Yeah, and I definitely feel that happening with now 1.9 or 2.0 when the squads the unintroduced competitive is introduced. So at the same time, it kind of tells the audience that the game can be much deeper and can be much more strategic, and at the same time, it kind of gets people together and they get mad if they lose. I mean, it already happens on servers. Like
oh
if
yeah,
you are too good, people just cast a vote kick on you, and you don't get to have anymore.
yeah, it'll be tricky to. I mean, hopefully we can handle this. Oh, did someone just say something?
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we can. Oh, hello. Who who am I talking to? Oh,
Hello, my friend.
hello. Is this Eldar? Eldar 11.
Yeah.
Hi. Um, but yeah, hopefully we can keep that aspect like I don't know under control or like make the game be give people enough moderation abilities or hopefully prevent things from becoming toxic or whatever if things get more competitive and yeah it'll
We definitely have to be proactive about it because right now we're in a point where the game is still underground enough to think about stuff like this and prepare for the inevitable. So
yeah. And there's certain things like with squads mode. I mean, this has come up. I have gotten people complaining about toxic people in servers and stuff like that. And so like certain design bits, like having squads mode, be limited to maybe chatting only with the people in your squad, and you can only do like emotes to the opposing team or something like that, where it's kind of by default maybe limiting how toxic you can actually be. Hopefully things like that will help.
so there's this game mechanic in multiverses when after at the end of the match you get to share a toast, which is like a consumable item which basically gives the other guy XP and gold,
Uh huh.
and you also get some too. And the only thing, it's basically like a GG button, but doesn't give you anything. It just gives something to the people you actually give it to. So
Oh, cool.
you get incentivized to like share it around, especially with, for example, a great teammate or an opponent you just have much fun with playing. So at least in my experience, on the experience of the end user, I didn't experience max toxicity, but at the same time, maybe that's because people don't teabag a lot and there's no text chat. So at the same time, it kind of feels more friendly than it is in reality.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that seems nice. Yeah, just kind of setting up an environment where you can be positive. And people are still going to be angry when they lose and whatever, but you can't turn that into ruining everyone else's day.
Having matchmaking, for example, might mean maybe not even having ranks at all. For example,
Yeah,
like there's lots of things to think about because I mean, game design is part of like player psychology too.
yeah, yeah, totally. So yeah, that'll. I mean, all that stuff is still open, like up in the air. I know I want to make a
Right.
matchmaking system where you play against groups of people, but in terms of like how competitive that is, or how ranked it is, or like all that stuff is like hopefully we can, the community can kind of give us enough feedback or give me feedback, or we can all kind of figure out what's the most fun.
Yeah, of course, right now it's too early, and definitely we need more like stuff to try out
Oh
to
yeah,
figure out what works and what doesn't, and we definitely want to get this working, like figure out before 2.0 even happens, so
oh
that we
yeah,
have
yeah.
time to launch.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I'd like to get like a beta version, or a very primitive like squad system, where at least you can invite people to your squad and maybe either play co-op games, or if there's enough people on it, start to play against other squads, and we can just start to have like a really rough version and see how that works and get kind of some early feedback. Yeah, because we don't want to. I feel like we're saying, like 2.0 will probably be kind of a big splash or something, or maybe not, but like that'll probably be when the stuff hits the fan, as they say. So we
Yeah,
definitely want to kind of know what we're doing before then. So hopefully 1.9 we can kind of focus on getting that working well and getting a good foundation that's non-toxic and can hopefully scale up to if
I
more people
actually,
hit.
I actually, I actually enjoy how organized you are because I have a lot of problems with that.
Well, I I feel like I do too. Like I'm definitely my I have an old photo. My college roommate used to call me Tangent Man. Like he made up this superhero persona for me called Tangent Man, because I would just get off on a tangent and just start working on something that I'm not supposed to be working on. And I feel like that still happens to me sometimes, but I have to indulge myself too, because like sometimes you just need to like switch your brain into another mode and do something else for a week or something.
Oh, I
Um,
can relate to that.
but the nice thing about working on the game like this is like there's so many different things that need to be done. It's like there's I can take my pick. It's like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna work on art stuff for a few days, so then I'll go. There's plenty to do on that front. Or it's kind of nice, I think, to like just switch gears a little bit and refresh a bit.
Yeah, because the best thing about the stuff I make, a lot of the ideas I come from are generally out of left field, and I have an issue with having too many ideas and prioritizing which ones are worth doing.
Oh yeah,
And that's one. Well, that's my Achilles heel.
yeah, yeah. That was definitely. I've probably told this story before, but like before Bomb Squad, I was working on a different. I was basically just making like a game engine for fun. It was like a 2D engine, and it was all like software rendered 2D. I wanted to make like a game like Scorched Earth or Worms, like a 2D side view artillery game. So I started making this engine, and I was working on that through college, and I kept like just adding too many features to it and getting sidetracked with stuff, and I never actually like added the gameplay. And so at some point, like that just kind of petered out. Like I learned more about coding, and so my old code wasn't very good, and so I wanted to redo it, and it never got to like a point where I was, it basically just, like I said, it petered out. So I feel like that was a big learning experience about how like not to approach a project. So Bomb Squad originally it started as like literally like a weekend project. Like I'm just gonna throw this really crappy thing together and just make like a bad Bomberman clone or something in a few days. And so I did something like that, and then I had something playable like very fast, and my roommates would play it, and it was just dumb and simple. But then like I just kind of started adding on to it, and like that was much more sustainable because it was just it was like there was something there and fun, and then you can add to the fun, as opposed to like having this thing in the distant future, like this distant goal that you're never actually going to hit. Like, oh, I'm gonna, so
So
it
I
showed me
guess,
that it's important to like have nearby goals at least.
so I guess the oldest screenshot of the game available in 2004 is that Bomberman clone, apparently.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there's. I think that there's probably screenshots floating around. Yeah, it had like a Bomberman style text. Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. I basically redid the game.
Yeah.
I think. There's probably screenshots floating around. Yeah, it had Bomb Squad in like a Bomberman style text.
Actually, it's only the title screen. At least only on blank. Here it is.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the very much like Bomberman looking. Yeah.
This was before the new like vision for the game arrived. I
Yeah,
assume.
exactly. I basically redid the game. Yeah, I redid the game before I released it on Mac, so about 2011 or something. So yeah, the original game I made in 2004. That's me and my roommate Raphael Suter. He did like that logo and he did some of the artwork and the sounds for it. He's still a good friend of mine, but he hasn't, he was only involved with the game at the very beginning there. Um, but then yeah, at some point, for years the game was just like a hobby, and I would forget about it for years at a time and whatever. I would just play it with my family at like holidays. Um, but then yeah, my friends encouraged me. My friends who had had success like making iPhone games, like when the iPhone came out, like in 2008 or 2009, they encouraged me to like clean the game up and release it because I'd played it with them just like at some get together. So then yeah, at that point I decided to like do that basically. So I redid all the artwork and added like the clay style and all that stuff around 2010, and then released it on the Mac App Store in 2011. That was a lot of work, like doing that revamp. Yeah, exactly. There's like that's probably about the first version of. Hello.
which is like close beta.
Yeah. What's that?
No, sorry, sorry.
Also, oh, it's okay. You can talk. Like, there's no. It's good to hear from people.
It's cool, cool.
Cool. But yeah, that was the first version in 2011 that was out on the Mac App Store. I think that version didn't have any. I think it was just local multiplayer only. There was no co-op, no single player, no net play. It was just local multiplayer because that's what I originally built the game for. Is just to like play with my friends between rounds of Halo at our like big Halo nerd parties.
Yeah, I think even the open beta didn't have online play. It's only 1.4 introduced it, and it was not the servers like we have today, but just like direct IP connections and stuff and local play. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I'm trying to remember. I originally added the networking for the original Android launch because I was kind of working with Google. They had talked to me about they were gonna, which is another funny story. They were gonna feature the game at their like yearly conference, Google I/O, but it actually got pulled at the last minute because it has bomb in the title. So I learned don't put bomb in the title of your game if you want to have it featured at a conference. Um,
yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I was working with them, and like their feature that they were launching Android TV at the time, and so it was going to be featured as that, and the like networking was kind of the big thing they wanted from me. So that was the first version with basic net play was 1.3 or whatever that was when I launched on Android.
Yeah, when it comes to my projects, the timeline is very shaky, and sometimes I feel like nothing has changed a lot in like 3 or 4 years. I don't make it BombSquad, but at the same time I want to do other things. So when I do other things, people like stop constantly nag me to make more BombSquad stuff because
Oh
I'm
no.
the BombSquad guy. I make BombSquad.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah.
I try to do other things, and it kind of worked, kind of did it sometimes. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm actually enjoying and doing stuff. So
Yeah.
for the time being, I'm just relaxing both, but hopefully I'm gonna figure out the stuff real soon.
Cool. Well, it's good to experiment with other stuff too, and like
Yeah,
I feel like I should do that. Like I should make a little. I don't want to get sucked into something, but part of me thinks like I should spend a few weeks and like make a little toy with Unity or Unreal or something just to see what like a normal engine these days is like to work with, and kind of it might. But part of me worries that it would like blow my mind or something, and then I'd want to like redo all of BombSquad or yeah. So like I don't want to get sucked into something unnecessary, but part of me thinks like experimenting with different things is useful.
yeah, and like especially now that like in pursuit of like solo game dev, I learned a lot of skills along the way: programming, modeling, texture, level design, game design, and stuff like that. So technically, I can make a game entirely on my own. I need to take part of the game. So actually, I did.
Yeah,
I wasn't very like excited with all the game jam projects. I just thought like all the soul got sucked out of it, and I just wanted to work on my own stuff and experiment, maybe have some fun,
yeah,
experiment with some like interesting concepts. Because interesting concepts is what I like. Like asking a question and seeing if the answer is like very exciting, and that's how the most of my mods came about.
yeah.
And most of my stuff for BombSquad and the games too.
Cool. All right, well, we should probably cut this off. Like, we're almost at the 2 hour mark. As much as I love chatting, I've learned that it takes like forever for YouTube to compress these videos. Like an hour and a half or 2 hour video, it takes it like 15 hours or something. Um,
Actually, to end this stream, I'm gonna read a comment which Scamper sent me, which is, I think, very important. Scamper is one of my longtime fans. I'm
oh,
gonna
okay,
read it because I think it's important.
cool.
People are going to follow you as long as you produce high quality content. It doesn't matter whether or not it's related to the main thing or not. That's all there is to it. And I think I agree. I think I proved myself that I care about the stuff I make and people enjoy the stuff I make. So as long as it's good, people are gonna follow it and they're gonna buy it, or they're gonna play it and stuff, whatever I'm making. So I got my community and I'm very hopeful for it. So I definitely feel much more confident that I'm gonna make stuff and it's gonna be great. And I'm really glad that I could be a part of this journey here at BombSquad and make some more stuff. So yeah, I'm very excited for the future.
Cool. And yeah, I think that's a great statement as well. And so I totally agree. And yeah, you have built a nice following with, and I want to thank you again for all the awesome work we've done modding the game and, you know, pushing boundaries there and showing me what's possible for people making mods.
And
So
I'm very grateful that I could have, I could showcase that stuff on stream and talk to you about stuff, both BombSquad related and not. And it was a very comfortable ride. Thank you.
cool. Yeah. Thanks again for being on. I hope I should get figure out a better like microphone setup. Hopefully people can hear you in the stream or in the chat or whatnot. But we'll find out. But for next time, maybe I'll see if I can reroute the audio somehow or to be able to like record audio coming from Discord or whatever directly. But anyway, technical bits. But so thank you so much for joining, and thanks everyone else for comments. I feel a little bad. Didn't probably respond to a lot of questions in the chat here,
Yeah,
but.
there are lots of good questions here.
Yeah, but if you asked a question and didn't get a response, come back next week and we'll answer it then. So,
I'm sorry I hogged the screen time.
no, I think this was great. This was a great conversation. So I think this will be, you know, very hopefully useful for people to watch. And I definitely enjoyed chatting.
An unofficial interview with Leaf.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, everyone, have a good week, and I will talk to you all next time. So,
Cheers.
cheers. Bye.